Everyone, how you doing today? Thought I'd show you what I've been working on the last couple days. Been having a lot of fun building again here. It's pretty cool. So I'm in Reforged Eden 2 Survival, of all things here. I was just testing out this new SV miner, the Scarab SMX, and I think I got this thing finally dialed in after lots of trial and error and some revisions and things like that. But the goal on this build was to build a SV miner that requires no additional CPU beyond its main core, have an interior cockpit, a 6-drill setup, good visibility for the pilot, and basically so it works. They can move around whatever it mines and get it back to where it needs to go without a lot of problems or anything like that, or being overweighed down. Also, it needed some other things on it, like Wi-Fi detector. It's got a couple extra cargo boxes. Here, let me walk aboard here. It does have a oxygen ventilator, and 8K of harvest storage. So this was kind of the golden number that I ended up with. I tried many different harvest configurations. I had it up to 10K for a little while, but it just was not working out. I could not muster up enough thrust within the CPU limitations to get it to move much more than 8K. It can move a little bit more than 8K though. It could probably do about 9K actually, but I shut it down a little bit more so you won't run into problems. And other than that, yeah, you got your pilot seat here, and one of the things I really wanted, again, good visibility for the pilot. You can kind of see how this is working out. Now this thing's pretty agile, especially unloaded. Of course, it's going to slow down a whole lot with a full load on it. But yeah, it does everything I kind of want it to. It also has a spotlight with a P menu option. And there's no shield, there's no weaponry on this. The hull is built of mainly cargo extensions. It does have some steel blocks and some carbon blocks. So it's kind of a mixed setup here. Basically, if there's the steel blocks are anywhere that isn't a cargo extension, that would be around the interior space. But they're like some of these blocks on the back over here around the trim that actually don't connect to the interior are carbon. I did that just to do a little bit more weight reduction on it. So the thrust configuration, this took a while to get right. Essentially, I did a lot of testing. In fact, this whole area is a holy zone. In other words, I got holes all over the place in the ground. I was digging with this thing a lot, seeing how it was going to work out, and I think I finally got that set. And I actually, after I finally got this thing going, I painted it and finished it off. So it's actually 100% complete at this point in time. I think ready for gameplay use in Reforged Eden 2. Really excited. I'm kind of giddy about this whole thing. It's kind of bringing some serious life back to building. I don't even particularly like to build miners because they're usually, like this, or the same type of configuration. But this was fun. This was fun to do, trying to get it all working, and a lot of trial and error again, things like that. But let me go up here, and I also been working on this Carapace-C2X over here. I'll show you that in just a second here. But I just wanted to show you how this thing would respond with a full load. So on this one over here, in our cargo bay, I maxed out. Now weights and volumes are on right now. So with a full load of 8K, and this planet's a little under 1G. It's 0.93 G, but it can handle more than what it's doing right now. So, like with a full load, 8K in here, it can you can accelerate up into the 40s going forward, somewhere in the 40s. If you turn, it'll slow down a little bit. But one thing I wanted to make sure that it could do is if typically when I am mining with one of these things, I will find a resource node somewhere and I'll dive straight at it. Just like, oh, there's copper there, and I'll just burrow right down into it. But that often puts you at a situation where you want to back out of a mining hole. And that is one thing I wanted to make sure this thing could do. So essentially it has enough thrust power to straight vertically back up like this from a mining hole. And that's why it actually has more reverse thrust than it has forward thrust on it. In fact, here, let's look at some numbers here. But anyway, well, here, go park this somewhere again. There, let's go over here. Actually, I don't even need to do that. Well, we'll get over here anyway. I'll show you what's going on with this Carapace as well, which is definitely got a lot more done on it. I got a lot of texturing to do and some other things on it yet, but it is coming along pretty good as well. So let me put this down here a minute, and I was testing this pretty vigorously out of God mode, getting in and out of the pilot seat, making sure that works good too, and it seems to be doing pretty good with that now. I've had a lot of problems with HVs and SVs getting out of a seat, especially with a closed-in area, kind of like what it is, but right now it seems to be pretty happy about that. Anyway, spec-wise on this thing, unlock level 10. This is a requirement with SV miners. The drills themselves are unlock level 10. It's the most highest level part on this thing. So you're not going to be able to build one under player level 10 for a SV miner. Now, in comparison to an HV miner, I did a little research on that as well. An HV miner, you can unlock at player level 7. There's another aspect, a little bit of an advantage on HV miner for some things, and that is like an SV miner, it requires 60 cobalt. Each mining drill for an SV requires 10 cobalt, and that's where it's got the 60 over here. And HV miner drills do not require cobalt. So essentially speaking, you could build a HV miner that would unlock at player level 7 and not need cobalt, and that would be your advantage to an HV miner versus a SV miner, from what I can tell. SV miners, of course, have a huge advantage on getting around, which is worth a lot. So, I mean, I still, in gameplay, I might just hold out till player level 10 before I bring in a miner. Even with that said, but I think I will build a new HV miner anyway, just to have it around as a, you know, they work as well. Don't mind the speeds on this. This is a hold on. I'm gonna let me take out all the cargo on here. I've been doing so much. Oh gosh darn it! All right, here, let me just trash this. All right, so now we can look at the speeds a little bit better. So stock speeds on it: 55 forward, 20 strafing, 83 lift, 69 reverse, and 24 down. Yeah, this might be the first where I've ever had a creation that actually goes faster in reverse than it does forward. And again, the reason I did that is if you're vertically diving in at a mining node like I typically do, it's nice to have the option to directly back up from it, and that's why it has the increased thrust going in reverse. And I've been back and forth messing around with the thrusters over and over again. I changed this around. Like I originally had two of these larger, or 1x2 strafing thrusters per side, but I actually, here, get back into God mode. I actually reduced like the front ones down to this, so I could put in a fifth reverse 1x2 thruster in that direction. And that actually, it would actually be able to back out without this, with 8K of storage in it, but just barely. It was so tight. And then I looked at the gravity on this particular planet and realized it wasn't a full 1G. And I figured, well, you know, to guarantee that would work on a 1G planet, that fifth thruster will pretty much make sure it works. And I definitely believe it can do that. And I believe also you can fill up these cargo boxes, which are 235 a piece. And you could fill those up as well and still back out on a 1G planet. And that's, again, I want to make sure, last thing I want is you take this out and you're out mining somewhere and then you're stuck and you got to like start throwing stuff out to fly the thing out. I didn't want that. So I try to make it fill proof, at least in a 1G environment. Now going past 1G, you know, I don't know how far it would go. Probably not too far. So definitely not a high gravity miner or anything like that. Other little features I wanted on it, spotlight. You can get into some mining environments that are really dark underground. I figured that would be a nice option. And then beyond that, it's you got to have your detector and your Wi-Fi over here. And does have a ventilator in there too, in case you're low on O2. It is oxygen. It does have an oxygen environment in here. There's the actual ventilator itself. That was played around too. I was really worried about this spotlight, but I noticed for some reason I thought the spotlights were not airtight, and then I looked and it is airtight, and that was perfect because then I could put the spotlight in the premium location where I wanted to put it in the first place. But I was scared for a while, assuming the spotlight was not airtight, and I was trying to figure out other places to put it, and I was just run out of any good options at all. And then I realized, oh, it is airtight. Oh, how cool is that? And it actually works too. I mean, if we I think do I have this thing loaded up with oxygen right now? I do, and it's on. Okay, so yeah, we can get into the debug here, and we do have oxygen. Woohoo! It's these little things that, you know, make it all worthwhile here. Now, other than that, this thing is like done and ready to go, and I'm kind of looking forward to using it in gameplay. Actually, once we get to a Reforged Eden 2 setup here. Now, this doesn't use any specific Reforged Eden 2 parts on it, but it was built in Reforged Eden 2. I haven't tried to bring this into Reforged Eden 1 or Vanilla, but it might work. I don't know. That's just one of those unknowns. Because I built it in Reforged Eden 2, would it be able to be used in the previous version of Reforged Eden or Vanilla? I don't know. Maybe. Other than that, yeah, that's the Scarab SMX. So I'm not sure when I'm going to get this to the workshop yet. It's ready to go, but Reforged Eden 2 is still under development and things like that. But I don't know. I was watching the stream. What motivated me to make this is I was watching the stream of a particular author building SV miners for the first time for Reforged Eden 2, and I kind of wanted to do the same thing. I was like, oh yeah, let's try this. So I was kind of building this along the side while watching that stream, and then I kind of finished it up a couple hours later after the stream, and ended up with this guy over here. So I'm really happy about that. So the next part here is the Carapace here, Carapace-C2X. Worked on this an awful lot more. And it's I'm just started texturing it, so I started texturing this area here, but the rest of it is not textured yet. I have not textured anything on the interior. I did modify a lot of things on it from where it was on the last video. I did slop in some mining drills here. Now right now it's a weird core setup, and I'm going to probably change that. Right now it's a core 8, which doesn't make a lot of sense. You'd think you'd either go to core 7 or core 9, but it's a core 8. So I get it that doesn't make much sense, but I do have a lot of a little bit more expensive parts on this and some options I got to reduce the core to 7 for release, and that's probably what I'll do. I just kind of wanted to see how it would work with see where all the other parts play on this. Essentially, that is a long-range radar down over there. So stock features on this right now, obviously I have not painted the interior. It's not properly lit or anything like that either, but I did lay out the entire interior now. So hangar space, I know I showed this in the last video, but just a quick recap. It's running two 640K storage bays here for like an input and output. Then it has 4 320s. One of those 320s now is a harvest bay. For its ammo storage, I'm going to be using probably 2 ammo boxes. I have one in here now, but I'm gonna probably swap out that box and put a second ammo box in here as well. So it would have 28K ammo storage. Again, it's not a combat ship. It's more of a mobile base storage utility kind of ship, like the Carapace line is typically for. It does require 4 1x3 generators in the build. I try to reduce that to 3, and then with charging the shield as well as 3-direction flight and doing some mining, you could go over 100% on your power usage. So it really does need that 4th 1x3 generator in there. So on the last video as well, I was debating if I wanted to put an elevator in here. It was completely staircase driven. I finally broke down and put in the elevator because it just didn't make sense to me. If you're down here, you had to run all the way to the front of the ship, up some staircases, then back to the middle of the ship to get to the landing pads up on the top. So I did slop in an elevator. Actually, here, I'll get the light on here too. So the elevator's right over here. And that actually goes down to a lower room over here, and then up to the farm, and then out to the flight deck way up top there. So once you come in here, you do have a full medical bay. Definitely wanted that. So you got all your specialized equipment and your shower and your toilet. And then over here, it does have an advanced shield generator installed on this version. Protection tanks over there, gravity generator here. It does have an advanced warp drive as well. So the 60 light year warp drive. Then over in this little utility section here, it does have a weapon locker, an armor locker, weapon or armor repair or repair station. Wi-Fi is up there. All the CPU blocks are around this area. It does. This is the one superior core that's in it right now, which is a 2x2 thing. It does have a slot here for a secondary one. So you can bring it up to core 9. You can actually bring it up beyond that, and I'll show you some other compartments here in a little bit. So that's how this is. Now, on the last configuration, I had 3 turbines in this area, and I decided to cut those. I like them because it would count as like 15 solar panels. The problem is space. This is not a very big ship. And they are also kind of noisy, and I needed to put in other ship things. So I just basically ran out of room for them on this build. So I did cut the turbines out of the build so I could put in this area here with the CPU cores. Originally I had some more CPU cores on this front wall as well. Then when I was looking at the block distance from that wall to outside, it wasn't very much, and it made me nervous. So I cut the CPU cores out of here and put them back over this way instead to keep them further away from the outer hull of the ship. So then you can go up into the cockpit area here, pretty similar to how the original Carapace was. A little bit more block work around the windows and things like that, but a couple passenger seats and a pilot seat. Got the main core sitting right over here. I probably will move that up to this location when I'm done. So it's kind of, again, if you get blown up or the pilot gets killed, it'll hopefully disable the ship so the AI stops shooting at it. And that is the whole point of that. Also has a teleporter in here and a little bit of place for a bed and a locker over there, a little box. And then you get up into the farming area here. It's set up for 54 grow plots. These are just filler blocks over here for it. I'll probably modify that, flatten off the top again. I was trying something a little different to try to add a little bit more detail to the filler blocks of all things. But I don't really like my little gaps I put there. It does have a couple of food processors and fridges and your grow light switches for those. And then there's a couple side compartments in here too. I might have to jump. I'm actually out of God mode. So on either side of the farm, there's like a 2x2 area for whatever. Honestly, you could even put superior CPU cores here, or an extra fuel tank, or I got to look at the shield parts a little bit more. I can't say for certain if a shield part will fit there yet or not, but a couple extra little side rooms there. And then you get to the main elevator. Obviously, this will get you up to the landing pad at the top over here. And then if you go straight down the elevator, you go right past the hangar to a front entry bay over here, so you can kind of get out from the ground level. And also right behind that is a secondary cockpit, like a quick access cockpit, third person only. Might be a little bit safer than the glass area, but it's just more of a convenience thing than anything else. A little bit of utility function in here as well. So that's kind of the whole layout of the ship here, except for one other area here. I'll get back into God mode. Up above these areas here, there's also a 2x4 area for additional parts. Again, I don't know what parts, but you know, a bunch of different kinds of things in the game could fit here. Again, even if it's extra fuel tanks or something like that, you could plop that in those locations. One other big thing I did to this ship here is I converted the entire hull to hardened steel. Taking a look at the specs right now on it, it is size class 3, 87 forward, 44 strafing, 87 lift, 44 reverse, 22 down. It's running 4 of the larger, or the biggest of the fuel tanks, 4 oxygen tanks. Don't mind the build time. This screwed up on me. I don't know what's going on with it, but for whatever reason, after a update on the game, both in creative and in survival, where I'm at right now, it reduced the build time to 1 second. I didn't actually tell it to do that. So Right now I don't know. I gotta look at what the build time would be, and it's not quite done either, so it would probably change a little bit. It's running 7 turrets. It's got 5 Gatling turrets, 2 missile turrets, and the 4 drills and a long range radar on it right now. CPU wise, Core 8. So it's coming up to 600,000 CPU. Got a little bit left over, not too much there. Again, I'm probably going to bring this down to 500,000 CPU, which I believe is a Core 7. And there's, again, I've got the advanced warp drive, the advanced shield, long range radar. I got a teleporter in here. I've got probably additional strafing thrust that I don't need right off the gates. So there's a lot of different things I could do to lessen the CPU down on this as well. As in its shield strength, because of the hardened steel blocks. And if you didn't know this, again, I'll just repeat this one more time on Reforged Eden 2. Certain blocks will increase your shield hit points if that creation has a shield in it. So with CVs, a steel block will add 1 hit point per block. Hardened steel will add 2 hit points per block. Combat steel does 3 hit points per block, and Xeno material does 5 hit points per block. So whatever the shield strength is of the baseline heavy shield, it's getting quite a bit more due to the hull blocks in here being hardened steel. In fact, I don't think this ship has any steel blocks on it. And it's the first build I've done in a long time that wasn't made of steel or carbon, which is kind of refreshing, actually. I used to build out of heavier materials, but then I realized I couldn't move them. Then I kept on getting lighter and lighter and lighter all the time, and more and more shield dependent. But the way it's set up now, it's actually kind of working out good. It feels pretty good. The amount of thrust I've got on here seems to be moving a heavier creation around pretty good. And again, when I get it to the workshop, it's probably going to be a Core 7. It'll probably be lacking some of the strafing thrust. I'll probably put some grates or something and leave like an open hole there for you to add a additional thruster later on. It's not really set up much for weaponry on this build. It does have some protection against drones and that kind of thing, but it's not a combat offensive ship. However, anybody can do anything they want with any of these creations, and it does have some extra launcher locations out over here as well and down over here. So, beyond the mining drills, and these could be cut and used for some kind of launchers as well. It really doesn't have a whole heck of a lot of turret mount positions on it, though. The way I'm trying to keep this area unobstructed with for landing creations and things on it. It just doesn't have a lot of room there. So that's one thing. And I also added in, of course, a quick way into the front cockpit area or a drone hatch there as well, which is definitely try to do as a standard feature, like you would with a car when they came out with the invention of seatbelts, and every car got seatbelts beyond that point. That's kind of what's going on with that. I wouldn't want a ship necessarily in gameplay that I would have to go traverse this long distance inside the ship to get up to a place where I can pilot it at, because often you have to act quickly. Something could happen and you got to take control of that ship as fast as you can. So there is that, and that's kind of where I'm at with it now. Obviously a whole lot more texturing and stuff left to do on it. One last little detail on both these new creations. I'm working on creating a brand new color palette for the humans. It's similar. I didn't go like crazy and pick totally different colors or anything like that. It's just the way I'm arranging the color palette. Essentially, I typically always had like this whole grayscale along the bottom here, and I shifted it to go over here. I left these first 3 colors stock with the default color palette because there's certain parts that you can't paint custom colors, so I wanted to have those colors in the mix and just keep them default. And then you got a bunch of different tones of gray here. This would be a lot. This row over here would be like a texture light color and a highlight color, and these colors down here are going to change. And then I was going to have a separate section in the palette for interior colors, and this is something I wanted to do for a long time but never did, where you could like if you had a custom color palette for this, you could have your hull color say gray and your interior color a different color, so you could make different custom palettes for the creations and have the hull and interior separated on those. I thought that would be kind of a nice thing to do. It doesn't cost anything. Just have to arrange a color palette in a sensible way. So this color palette's totally not done either. I don't even know what other colors I'm going to want in here yet, but that's kind of where it's at. And that new miner also is painted with this new color palette, but it's just using the colors that are there already. So, you know, if you're going to start fresh and build a lot of new things for Reforging in 2, I figured it would be a great time to kind of reset the color palette a little bit too. But I'm not trying to go funky. I'm still keeping the humans looking like humans and not going too crazy with it. It's probably going to be a little bit grayer, not as much whites in it as I did with a lot of the human creations. And maybe the highlight color might be more of this orangish red rather than a straight red. So maybe, I don't know. I could manipulate it, and it could make bunches of different alternative color palettes for it as well. So next thing I wanted to show here, and this I just figured this out the other day. Oh, looks like there's a predator nearby. Again, I am in survival here, so things like that do happen. So a while back, I didn't put this to the workshop, but I built this. This was just kind of for fun. I mean, I took the Scarab tree cutter, the STC, and I tried to hype it up a little bit. So I gave it a little bit more CPU, more thrust, a couple Gatling guns, a little bit more utility function on it. Added a fun little license plate thingy. And a couple other things, like it's got a ventilator on this one, an extra box, and stuff like that. And it's more expensive. It really doesn't perform cutting trees any better, but you can shoot some stuff while you're doing it. So no big deal there. And then there's this certain author named Gearman, and he was watching some streams where I was playing with Excalibur, and often, you know, when I get into a stream, I'm just floating in some random solar system somewhere with nothing, because he's moved on to a different location, so I'm just floating in space, and I guess he felt bad for me or something like that. So he took this and he converted it to a CV, and then kind of set it up as like I would be left with this out in space somewhere, rather than just floating there dying of frostbite or whatever. So it's a warp capable Scarab. This one's the SSM over here. And it's got a couple mining drills on it. It's got a little bit of drone defense. It's got, you know, obviously the warp drive on here. And it's even the good 60 light year one. It's got a shield in it. It's some other utility function out back here. It's got the you know, your med bay O2, your Wi-Fi detector on the interior here. You know, you got your cockpit, and then you even got a shower down to the floor. It's sporting a shield. It's got a pretty good amount of storage on it as well. Like area for harvest bay, 263K there. It does have an ammo bay on it as well. I just thought this was really, really cool. So he basically scaled that up, kind of recreated the prefab cockpit that was on here with the glass work over here, which I thought was a nice little added touch there. It's got O2 on the interior as well. I mean, what more would you actually want? I mean, so yeah, I just thought this was just fun, just kind of a random thing there. But yeah, hey, there's a big CV Scarab SSM out there now too. So really, really cool. And it was kind of built, you know, again, probably around this one over here, this STX, with its fancy license plate. Yeah, these Scarabs, they're very cocky creations. They got some AI in them, and they're pretty crazy AI on the Scarabs. So other than that is all I've got for today. So a brand new starter SV miner and more work done to the Carapace here. Now I got a lot of plans. I want to build a lot of things right now. So my next little small project, I think I'm gonna try to see what I can come up with a HV starter miner at unlock level 7, and I want to see how it would compare to the SV one. Of course, I would prefer the SV one because it flies, but again, I think I could build a miner cheaper yet with HV and have it unlock quicker as well. So that is another thing I would like to explore a little bit. And then as I get a couple more starter things kind of worked out, I'll probably like you know, go up the ladder and start building bigger things again as well. You know, the Scarabs, or not the Scarab, the Carapace here is actually a fairly small ship. And in relation to like a starter CV, this isn't a starter CV. It would be a lot like, say, a Wayfarer, except this one's got a much stronger hull on it. It's more expensive. It's got more storage. It's got just kind of more of what you would expect on a starter CV, but it performs basically the same function as a starter CV. It's just a higher up version of it. And obviously this one's not a starter. It's probably going to unlock at player level 25 and be a core 7 build. Versus like the Wayfarer ST2 that will unlock at, I think, 12, player level 12. Actually, hold on a second. I'm really curious now. I think I brought this in once before in RE2, but yeah, this one unlocks at player level 12, but if I do recall, looking at it, the CPU is so low on it that it doesn't need its only CPU block that it has. Where did I put that? It's in here. I put that here? Yeah, there it is. Okay, so let me get that out of there. That. Okay, so it doesn't need that. Yeah, so we're totally cool with the CPU there. Obviously, I wish I could look at the build time, but yeah, this one will unlock at yeah, still player level 12, so that didn't matter. So that's pretty much, I think, about the lowest you'll get into a CV at in game is player level 12, which isn't bad at all. I mean, honestly, SV minor player level 10, HV minor player level 7. So just kind of like learning these things, so you kind of know what to look at or what to go for starter type creations and things like that. Now, obviously, you can tell that the Carapace is physically bigger than this ship as well. Way more hit points and way more shielding and things like that too, because of the hardened steel hull versus carbon substrate. How does this one actually move now in Reforged Eden 2? Kind of about how it did before in Reforged Eden 1, I would say. And this thing would move like, can you imagine if this thing had a steel or hardened steel hull on it? It would barely move. It would barely move at all. Now, granted, you know, if you didn't know that already too, like every different type of thruster you see for all the different kinds of creations pretty much has 3 tiers of upgrades. So if you're using this in game, you could go around and take this like baseline thruster and upgrade it to 1 level up, which would provide a little bit more thrust but not take up any more room. And then you could upgrade that again to something even more powerful, again being the same shape and size. So you got options even without going to bigger thrusters on these ships now, or well, pretty much any creation that moves, which is really, really cool. I definitely like that idea too, so you don't have to physically change sizes, and this ship doesn't necessarily need like a way to put in like a big thrust on it, because you could just upgrade the ones that are there. So that's another thing to consider. This one I was just going for a higher tier in the first place. That's why I wanted to go with the larger thrusters stock on it for the most part. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Let me know what you think about all these things, and I will talk to you later.